Back for more, I see. Well, my friends, please make yourselves comfortable as we go on a little trip through time to the 1700s. William Brodie, son of Francis Brodie, Covener of Trades in Edinburgh, trained his son as a furniture maker, and as time passed, his father's prominent position and family allowed William to become the Deacon of Wrights and Masons around 1781. A highly respected member of the Edinburgh Society was our Deacon Brodie. Yes, Mr. Brodie earned the title Deacon, and no, not the holier-than-thou brigade, just to make that clear. William was Deacon of a trades guild, and he lived life to the fullest. Although, comfortably well-off William, he wanted more, as his thirst for self-gratification knew no bounds. At night, Brodie would gamble, drink, and visit two known mistresses, Anne Grant, who bore him 3 children, and Jean Watt, who bore him 2. There were rumours of more mistresses, but so clever was William that neither woman knew of the other. William's gambling and philandering ways were expensive, and soon his comfortable living and inheritance ran out. Soon he needed to find a way to subsidise his life choices, and this naughty chappie soon realised he could put his talents as a locksmith to use, and he created copy keys. With each job he did as a locksmith, his alter ego as the burglar thief came to be, and soon he was reaping his rewards of his newfound nefarious talents, which he enjoyed immensely. During the day, William maintained his highly respected persona as a council member and deacon. However, at night, that was a different story, where our old deacon was a womanizer, gambler, and burglar. Yes, William associated with the darker side of Edinburgh's criminal world. Brodie, who was greedy and soon wanted more, formed an alliance with 2 other seedy criminals of Old Reeky's underworld. With his 3 accomplices, Smith, Ainsley, and Brown, at his side, they would help him in his nefarious nighttime deeds. And it worked well. That was until my favourite deadly sin, greed, entered the picture. There was greed. Insatiable, unquenchable. That, combined with Brodie's growing complacency, something was bound to go wrong, and my friends, go wrong it did. William had done some work for His Majesty's Excise Office, based at Chesil's Court in Edinburgh's Cannon Gate, and like so many locksmithing jobs before, he took the opportunity to use putty to take an impression of the key. On the 5th of March 1788, Brodie, along with his cohorts, carried out their dastardly plan to rob the Excise Office in Chesil's Court on the Cannon Gate. Brodie was accompanied by Smith, Ainsley, and of course, Brown. Dressed in black, they could hide in the shadows. Brodie, along with Brown, would carry a pair of flintlock pistols, no longer burglars, but now armed robbers. It was supposed to be a simple burglary. The Excise Office was closed and the night watchman wasn't due until 10 p.m. At 8 p.m, everything was going smoothly, using the key that William had made to enter the building. However, this is where their plan fell apart, and the downfall of Brodie began. James Bonner had returned to his office unexpectedly around 8:30 p.m, and the startled gang fled after the alarm was raised, with only £16 to show for their deed. Brodie rushed home to change his clothes and went to his mistress, Jean Watt, hoping to provide himself with an alibi. That same night, fearing that he would be arrested, Brown approached the authorities to claim a king's pardon, which had been offered at a previous robbery, and without persuasion, he ratted out his colleagues. Brown showed the authorities where the gang had stashed the duplicate keys that allowed them to carry out their deeds. Lifting a stone at the base of the Salisbury Crags, the stash of keys were found. As you might have guessed, my friend, Smith and Ainsley were nicked. When Brodie heard this, he tried to visit them in prison, maybe to bribe them to keep silent. Who knows? However, it was to no avail. William knew he had to get out of Edinburgh quickly. He was right. An order for his immediate arrest was issued, and so Brodie decided to head down south towards Dover. Williamson, a king's messenger, was tasked to pursue Brodie, but Brodie's trail had gone cold. Brodie knew he had to keep a low profile, so he headed to London and hid till he felt that he could leave the country. Changing his name to John Dixon, he boarded a ship called the Endeavour. It was to set sail to Edinburgh, but Brodie paid the captain to detour and drop him at Flushing in the Netherlands. Brodie handed the captains several letters to deliver to one of his mistresses at Cant's Close in Edinburgh. The captain became suspicious of Mr. Dixon and gave the letters to the authorities. Williamson, the king's messenger, after failing the first time, began his pursuit and finally caught Brodie in Amsterdam. Brodie was getting ready to leave for the United States of America, thinking that he had evaded the law. But he was arrested and returned to Edinburgh, where he stood trial in chains. And on the 27th of August 1788, Deacon William Brodie was convicted and sentenced to death, convicted on the testimony from members of his gang, and the evidence found at his home, which included duplicate keys, disguises, pistols, and clothing for the nighttime burglaries. This marked the end of Deacon Brodie. Brodie was hanged on the 1st of October 1788 at Edinburgh's toll booth, a bleak building that stood in the middle of the High Street near St Giles Cathedral. Ironically, the gallows used was one that which Brodie, as a city councillor, had himself helped to design, even authorising the funds to build it. Deacon Brodie's trial was well documented, as he was seen as a very important person, part of the socialite brigade of Edinburgh. It was said that about 40,000 people had come to see the hanging. Brodie socialised with the gentry of Edinburgh, and even met the poet Robert Burns and the painter Henry Raeburn. It is believed that Brodie's strange twin personality was the inspiration which gave Robert Louis Stevenson the idea to create another well-known individual with a split personality. He called him Dr. Jekyll, and his alter ego, Mr. Hyde. Well, all for his notoriety, poor old Brodie ended his life doing the hangman's jig. I hope to see you all next time, where we might discuss Half Hang It Maggie. Until then, farewell, my friends.